Previously on The Rise Effect.
We heard about human trafficking from this little girl who came. She was a missionary in Asia, and she came to our church and said, you can get a little boy and a little girl menu on the street corner. A menu, and you could choose what child you want for the night. You could do anything you want to that child, and because they're just throwaways. Kids that are raped 5 to 20 times a day, where do you even begin with their restoration process?
Dad comes into the room to see me. And he says, that's not mine. And he walks out. And that's where it started. The unwanted, the unloved, the too much, the burden. It started right there. When I wasn't accepted by my earthly father.
Each and every one of us has come across some type of human trafficking in some way. It's on our streets. Young people are getting recruited from schools, libraries, churches. Anywhere you can find a child, you can find human trafficking.
I'm Cory.
And I'm Tymme.
I moved out to California from the East Coast.
I came to LA from Hawaii.
The goal was to be a star.
So I ended up in Hollywood.
For 15 years, I warmed up crowds on American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, and even spent the last decade touring the world as a DJ.
I started as a dancer and performed for artists like Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, and Will Smith. I then authored 3 books and became a pastor.
But through it all, something was missing.
I felt this desire to be a part of something real.
A movement that would change communities.
To tell stories of strength built on people's passions.
Driven by their courage and giving the world hope.
So we've come together to celebrate unsung heroes from around the world. This is The Rise Effect.
I remember a story that we read, when we were beginning, and that one really touched my heart. It was about a lady named Anastasia, and a woman had come up to her and said, we have work for your daughter, Veronica. And so this lady took Veronica away from her mom, but she went and sold her in a brothel for $500 in the city, and she never saw her daughter again. And so now Veronica is working in this brothel. She's forced to have sex with 10 men a day for like $5 a client, but then she owes like $4 for room and board and makeup, cosmetics. Basically, she's in debt, more than the original $500. Not only that, but her pimp infected her with HIV, so Veronica has AIDS, and she's not even yet 12 years old.
Of the 25 million people trapped in forced labor, nearly 5 million were in sexual exploitation.
What do I need to do? I'm in. And just like that, I was in the sex industry. But I wasn't just stripping. I was an escort, I did sensual massage, you name it, I did it. How much are you gonna pay me? Because my body was currency. But what was interesting is I found it as my revenge. Because of how I had been treated growing up by men, I then wanted men to feel unworthy. I wanted men to feel powerless the way I had felt all growing up. And this went on for several years until I found myself facing attempted murder charges. My life crumbled. That was the lowest point of my life when I found myself in jail facing attempted murder charges. What ended up happening is that I ran my boyfriend over with our car. So I went to jail for that incident, and I hear this voice. And the voice says, nobody knows where you're at, and nobody cares.
The average age of child sex trafficking victims reported missing is 15 years old.
I remember this one story. We went with law enforcement, and they did a raid on a brothel where they were all in cage-like rooms. The kids were falling into our arms. It was 5 girls, and they had crossed the border because they were running from this country has been in civil war for 60 plus years. And so they were being gang raped by both sides of the military, their people, and then also the opposing military. So they are escaping, right? This life. When they crossed the borders, traffickers grabbed them because they had no paperwork, no documentation. I grabbed them and put them in these cage-like rooms. And so they were just pleading with us, please let us go home. Please let us go home. We don't care about all the abuse back home. Just not one more night in those cages. They were begging to go back to that than what they were being used for in those cage-like rooms.
ZOE International provides prevention, rescue, ministry, family care, integration, and restoration.
Well, there was this box that they give you, like when you get booked in jail, and it has like your toiletries and different things. And there was a Bible in there. And I didn't want to have anything to do with God. I finally kind of sit in it and I think about it. And I'm kind of going back and forth looking at the Bible, and I finally go, all right, fine. So I pick up the Bible and I say, all right, God, if you're real, if you get me out of this mess, I promise you I'll stop doing what I'm doing and I'll live my life for you. Fast forward to about 8 months later, and it's time for the sentencing to come down on me. It's time to find out what is going to happen with my life. And I get called in by the district attorney. I get told by my attorney, he wants to speak with you. And I'm like, oh shoot. Like, how bad is this that they need to prep me before I go in to meet with the judge? Well, remember I told you that I was going to school for theater. So while I was in the sex industry, I was still going out and doing auditions and different things like that. Well, I had done this one movie called Attack of the 30-Foot Chola. And this DA ended up being like a cult movie type of fanatic. And so he says, look, I listened to the tapes. I've done my research on you. I don't think you'd really purposely run your boyfriend over with a car. He goes, so I'm just asking you this one thing. Just give me the tickets to the premiere of your movie. I'm dismissing all charges. It was at that moment where I realized, like, this is a freaking miracle. Like, this is God showing up. Like, he is real. He's real.
Let me tell you, the love of God is the strongest force on the planet. We only have so much time on this earth.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Gotta make the most of it.
Yes. You have one shot at today to make it great, to make it worthwhile.
And to make it great for someone else.
Yes.
That's what you guys do.
You haven't lived until you've given to someone who can't give anything to you back.
That's right.
You haven't lived,
on.
but it takes the rise effect
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
to move you in that direction. There are billions of people sitting on a gold mine of potential, and the goal is that you die empty
Yes.
of potential. That's the goal.
Yep.
Die empty of all your potential.
That's what we discovered. And so I just encourage anybody, just go for it.
Yeah.
Our strategy was go low and serve your way. Keep your mouth shut and do good work. Do great work. For us, the bottom line is, listen, we never need credit.
For 20 years, ZOE International has been rescuing children from around the world.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the facility behind us because you talk about where a lot of these kids are taken from, right?
Yes.
A lot of them are from the streets, some of them are from broken homes. But now, when you designed these buildings, these were actually designed with restoration in mind, right? Like aesthetically to bring restoration to these kids. So can you explain that design concept?
Healing and restoration was the center of the design. It was the center of our strategy, and it's called trauma-informed design.
Yeah.
It's a concept of the 3 C's, right? And 3 C's is choice, community, and comfort. The entrance is just a welcoming entrance. We love the concept of the swing and the seating. Again, another opportunity to have for choice. This is what we call the family room. This is where we have our TV and the huge couch. Again, within our trauma-informed design, we want to allow for choice. Whether youth want to sit next to each other or youth want to separate, they have the opportunity to watch a movie and do that. As you can see in each one of these rooms, each youth has the opportunity to place her own decor. As you can see on the wall, she gets to choose whether she wants a certain color, and that can match her bed or not match her bed. In regards to this kitchen, we said we're gonna build the biggest island we can, and we're gonna make sure that can fit all 6 girls at the same time so they can sit and eat together. If you see the dining table, it's an oversized dining table on purpose, again, allowing for space. Our deck area is our solution from our runaway problem. The way you enter and the way you exit from the same door is internal from the home.
To date, more than 3,600 children have been rescued off the streets. Being aware of the enormity of human trafficking is the first step to eradicating this epidemic.
Human trafficking, it's real. It's not just a cool cause.
Right.
We started before it was even a cause.
Right, now it's trending.
Yeah, that's not why we're jumping on board. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
The need is outweighing, our ability to meet it. So the opportunity is massive in really Japan, and Mexico is massive. It's just, there's so much to do there with trafficking.
Yeah.
Your audience watches you because they have that same angst. What can I do to make a difference? And they can.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
thank God for this show, you guys.
Absolutely.
If you're moved by what you've seen and you want to make a difference, visit gozoe.org to get involved.
I was still going through a lot of tough stuff. I was still dealing with a lot of unworthiness and feeling unlovable and falling into unhealthy relationships. And I was also dealing with thoughts of suicide. And I'll never forget, I just felt like I was such a failure, and I was sitting on my bed, and I was just like, that's it. Like, I'm gonna take my life. Like, my life is not amounting to anything. Like, I'm a waste of space. And I'm just like, God, just take me, or I'm gonna take my own life. And I was really serious about it. And so I'm there, and I'm so depressed, and all of a sudden, my phone is blowing up. And I was like, what? I look down at my phone, and I get a text message saying, hey, you wanna do a TED Talk? And I was like, excuse me, like, do you have the wrong phone number? Like, who is this, And it ends up being a woman I had met, like, on a photo shoot, and she had heard a little bit of my story, and she wanted me to come and present a TED Talk in Beverly Hills. This doesn't make any sense. And so I ended up doing a TED Talk on something that I'm so passionate about, which is for women and children to know their worth. Because that is something that I struggled with all my life, like feeling unworthy. And I thought, if I would have just known my worth, I wouldn't have fallen into the sex industry. And so I was like, that's what my TED Talk's gonna be on. It's gonna be about knowing your worth. Here I was again in my darkest moment, and God shows up, and He provides this opportunity for me to remind me that I'm not a mistake, and it's not my fault, and that I do have a voice, and that I am powerful. And so now I get to do that as an advocate. I work with an amazing organization called ZOE International.
Monique is just one example of a survivor that's come to ZOE. Let's find out what ZOE has lined up for the future.
The goal is to end trafficking, not put a Band-Aid on it, not just to stop it in the moment, but to end it. So we have ideas of opening homes to serve youth who are pregnant, serve youth with children, to serve TAY youth, have emergency shelters. So we're in the vision stage of that right now.
And I love it because I'm like looking right back here and it says, I'll find a way or make one. Where does ZOE fit in nationwide?
Now we have an office in Philadelphia right now. So we have a United States director who's going to launch a task force in Philadelphia. So that's kind of our next right now. How do we expand Philadelphia? What do we do there? And how do we continue to do prevention work specifically? So there's a quote, and I always mess it up, so I'll probably mess it up right now, right? But there's a quote that says, do you build a fence at the end of the cliff or a hospital at the bottom? We say you do both.
That's how you create a rise effect.
That is how
By
you create a
joining
effect.
together
Yeah.
and doing something in a like-minded manner, that's how things change.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank you, thank you for being a part of the Rise
you
Effect and for your
kidding?
life.
Wow,
You guys are
you're welcome.
Oh
Yes.
my
Yes,
goodness,
ma'am.
thank you for having us. You guys are amazing. We are crazy in love with you guys and you're sweethearts. We need this show. We need this show.
We just can't wait till our paths cross again.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you
Love you
again.
guys.
They did not miss a beat with this property.
And Zoe has not missed a beat in fighting for this cause because it's one of the largest global issues that our generation is facing today.
But it can come to an end. And that all happens with the Rise Effect. We'll see you guys next week.